everyone, I'm Elaine Chow.
And I'm Trist Curless.
And welcome to The Musician's Loop.
Loop, like a drum loop?
No, like the kind of thing that a jeweler uses to evaluate gems.
Oh, like a magnifying glass, like what we'll do on this podcast, actively listening to music like a musician.
That's right. And every week, we are choosing a track to dive into together and share our thoughts about what we find intriguing about the song.
Whether it's songwriting, chord progression, instrumentation, recording technology, arrangement, whatever, we're looking at the music we love through the lens, or the loop, of decades in the music industry.
Hey, Trist. So what song do we have this week?
Oh, Elaine, this was so difficult because I realized we need a Stevie Wonder song.
Ooh.
And as we all know, he's one of those artists like, it's like, who's your favorite child, right? What's your favorite Stevie Wonder song? It's like, what do you mean? They're all so amazing. I can't even pick one album, let alone one song. So this isn't necessarily my favorite, but I chose this one because it's not really like a hit. It's just a wonderful song. I think it's one of his most succinct. He's known lots of funky, groovy, big horns, big hits. But man, some of these ballads are so good. And in every kind of different kind of writing, Stevie can go a little long. He might start a concert with 20 minutes of talking to you about the state of the world. At any point, he could stop and talk about famine somewhere, or whatever, the less fortunate. You just never know when Stevie's just going to stretch something out, whether it's a piano solo, a harmonica solo, having his band play and just vamp forever. This is a nice, succinct, just well-written song. Heart-wrencher. Just heartbreaker. It gets me every time I hear it. This is Stevie Wonder's I Never Dreamed You'd Leave in Summer.
Never dreamed you'd leave in summer. Okay, well, we are going to pause in just a moment so that everyone can listen to it. We will have the links in the show notes for you. But before we go into this break, Trist, you have some reminders about how we listen to music.
Oh, yes. Another reminder. I know so many of you are so great to try to join us when you have time, maybe out on a walk, etc., where you don't have the option. But if you do find yourself right now going to listen to one of the links we gave you, and you have the ability to improve your listening situation, please do so. Get out the good headphones. Get out the super nice quality download if you have one. Pull out the CD, pull out the vinyl, whatever. If you can listen to this, I like to put that in our lives. Let's listen with the best quality we possibly can. The music deserves it, and as much as I espouse that, I listen just with my AirPods as much as anybody. It's so convenient. It's so good on its own. But if you have the ability to step up the listening environment for this one, please do so. Thank you.
Okay. So with that, we'll be back in just a moment. Pause this podcast, go off and listen to things, and we'll be right back. All right. And we are back. Wow.
Told you, heartbreaking.
It is.
That last, why didn't you stay? Like, how simple, and yet just like, just feels like he holds the note forever. Also, like, just the end of that every time, no matter how many times I've heard it. Man, the first time I heard it, it knocked me out. Wow. Like, I was such a Stevie fan. Even of the ballads, it's not one that people just know right away necessarily. Just every time I get to the end of it, I just can't help. It just kills me.
So was the ending the reason you chose the song, or were there other reasons?
Just all of it. It's Stevie Wonder. It's all good. I mean, just everything about it. Again, for someone who's always just more is better a lot of times with Stevie Wonder. He'll just go and he'll vamp on you for 15 minutes on something before a song ends. But man, just so succinct. The lyric, the kind of, the wordplay with dealing parallels with using the seasons is just clever, good writing. Harmonically, this is another example of Stevie doesn't he kind of knows the quote unquote rules, musicians, and he studied musicians like, oh, these chords normally go to these other chords. Like Stevie doesn't really pay attention to that. Stevie like has a melody and there's some chords that support it and they just go wherever they're going to go. Mm-hmm. If it needs to change keys 3 times or 7 times or no times, he'll just do whatever the music needs. It's not always in a traditional way. It's not always in a direction you've heard before or at an interval you've heard before, and yet never seems weird. It never seems like, oh, he was just doing something to be clever, moving a tritone or something away. Like, it's never for the sake of being clever or knowing things about music. It's always serving what the music, the feeling, the lyric has to do. It always moves you emotionally when he does something interesting. There's a bunch of that in this song. But yeah, you kind of don't expect it. It's like, it's why it's really heartfelt anyway. And then just a very simple, all this happened. Like, why didn't you stay? And just holds the note forever. It's just like, oh, that's why.
Well, yeah. And it's interesting that you say simple, because I think a lot of times I also do think of Stevie as a maximalist, right? There's a lot of stuff going on in his music, and the orchestration of this is so simple. And I think I was very surprised at this, because it started out with just very basic piano without a whole lot of, damper on it. So it wasn't like we had sustain on it. It was a very dry kind of piano sound. And then there was an upright bass, kind of plucked bass sound. And then what got me was that the oboe came in, and I'm like, where is this oboe coming in?
And then the orchestra is like, okay, that's our key. We can also play now. Right?
Exactly.
Like, yeah, love that.
And it was, I mean, that level of shift was over the course of like 30, 45 seconds. But I would also say that, back to your whole point about listening to this, I was listening to this on my studio speakers, and so like very clear left and right. I'm sitting right in between them. It's like in a very good balanced situation. And I noticed at the very beginning that the piano was panned far, far left. And I was very surprised at this. And then the bass came in at center with the voice, and then the oboe came in, and like the right speaker, and then all of a sudden the entire orchestra came in. And I had this sudden sense of I was in the middle of something. And so that hard pan left did not surprise me. Well, it surprised me at the beginning, but it didn't surprise me after all the other instruments came in.
Right.
But still, with the full orchestra, it still felt sparse.
And even a choir. There's like a choir too.
Yes, I was wondering about that, because I thought I heard the choir, and then I second guessed myself. Like,
it's so well mixed as just another timbre. They're not on anywhere, just on some ooze, so it's just another texture. Just like in movies, film scoring, there's almost always a big choir in a film score, even though you don't feel like you hear it, especially if there's no lyric. It's just another texture along with strings and brass and percussion, and just gorgeous. But you're right, it just creeps in, and then it's like, oh, hey, by the way, here's this whole orchestra that you didn't know was here, led by the oboe every time. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, I think that in some ways the orchestration really leads to the sense of tenderness or vulnerability in this song, because the lyrics, it matches the lyrics so well. The lyrics, we're talking about spring, summer, fall. Interesting, I noticed there was no winter. There was no winter mentioned. Right. And so as someone who's like, I'm looking for all 4 seasons,
right,
that's stuck out to me as something that was just missing there. But
right. As kind of the implication, like, oh, it's supposed to be so it started to be cold, so it's like
it's in the winter of my soul.
Right, without ever saying it. Yeah.
That being said, the sparseness of it, I think, led to the sense of intimacy. And, it's interesting to think about how orchestration, especially as someone as maximalist as Stevie Wonder, really begins to change in some ways, right? And I wonder if this song, in the context of the album that it was on, because you and I talk frequently about songs within the context of albums and like the shape of an album, not just the shape of a song. Knowing what you know about this album, can you tell us a little bit about, where this fits?
Well, interestingly enough, something that I learned in kind of doing this, I knew that the song actually comes from an album. Where I'm Coming From is the album that it appears on. However, it was the B-side for his version of the Beatles' We Can Work It Out, which comes from the album before it. So it had been in the can, as we in the industry say. It had been recorded already, and it was first released as a B-side to We Can Work It Out, which is, I think, one of the best Beatles covers ever. That's a whole other episode we could do. But yeah, it's the B-side to that song, and I was not aware of that till I was looking up some stuff for us to do this episode. So, you know, the album that it does appear on in album form, and by the way, Streeta Wright, his first wife, was also a co-songwriter on this, along with many, many of his songs from this period. So I don't want to leave her out. Stevie did so much of everything that you forget that there are sometimes other people that he worked with. Everything feels like he did it. He produced it. He wrote it. She was a singer-songwriter in the Motown era with him. Probably the biggest song from this album is "If You Really Love Me, Won't You Tell Me." That song, "If You Really Love Me," was probably the biggest hit. And it's kind of an era. This album is full of some more contemporary themes kind of around the same time as what's going on, you know, so have a view about things that are going on in the world, etc. So just this dropped in there. It's not even 3 minutes long. There are some other songs on the album that are that, but there are also some, you know, nearly, 6 and 7 minute tunes as well. So I honestly feel like he's one of those people that he's just so musical. He's so aware that I think he just naturally knows, okay, well, I did these 6 or 7 minute songs. We need one that gets straight to the point. I think he may, I have no idea if this is the case. In my brain, that's true. In my mind, like if he was just to start doing a concert without a plan, he would like naturally make good pacing just because he's so darn musical. It's like, oh, that was 3 big, long, vampy songs in a row. Okay, let's do a ballad that's only 3 minutes long. You know?
Yeah, and I think that there's something in there that I want to dig a little bit more into, because there is a shaping of an album, where you're thinking about the juxtaposition of the songs in context with one another, very similar to the type of work that you put into putting a set together, right? You have you have all the songs that you can do live, and the longer you've been, together, the longer, the more of a discography that you have to choose from. And as you're putting the sets together, you want to think about, oh, what is the arc that I want people to be on, right? Is there a dip where we do something a little bit more intimate? Do we bring it back up? What is the energy in the room that we're managing? Right. And I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit more about that and like your experience with live performance and how you shape that type of experience for people.
Well, yeah, it is different because you're taking someone kind of on a ride on the album in a different way than a live performance. Kind of tangential, but I had this experience. I think this is pertinent. Never thought of it till this moment. So I saw the band, They Might Be Giants. Okay. Their biggest album is an album called Flood. Has the biggest kind of hits from it. I love this album. So well before, this is a common thing these days, is to, hey, we're going to see Steely Dan perform all of Gaucho, or we're going to see the Eagles perform all of Hotel California. Like, it's another good marketing tool. Yeah. Hey, you saw them on the last tour. They kind of did already play all of Hotel California, but if we say we're going to play every song from there, we're playing the full album, etc. That's a good marketing tool these days. So well before I was seeing that a lot, this is easily 25 years ago, maybe longer, I saw They Might Be Giants in Boston at this club, and part of the thing was, hey, we're going to play Flood in its entirety live. Okay. Very excited about that. So I was excited to hear them anyway. So right when they came out, before they played anything, came right out, and one of the Johns says, hey, so here's the deal. We've done this a few times now, and the very first time we did it, we learned 2 things right away. 1, just playing the album is not long enough for a concert. Okay. 2, the album order is a terrible concert order. So, but they were so focused on this cool niche idea of playing the song, the album in its entirety and in order, which is a cool, fun, kind of musical trick to keep you interested. Oh, let's see if we can do this. It's something to achieve. Yeah. But in the process of doing it, it was like, oh, this doesn't as good live. Like it doesn't end like we want. It doesn't have the right flow as live. And then also, it's only been like an hour and 10 minutes, and we're going to do a full concert. So here's some other songs that we didn't plan on playing. You know, so they said, don't worry, we will play every song from Flood, just not in order. And we'll play some other songs too, just to give you a full concert. So I think that sums up, as tangential as that was, I think that sums up what you were asking. That fits that topic.
I'm also kind of curious about where this fits in. All right, so one of the things I've been thinking about is the break between sides of an LP, right? Like this song or this album definitely was, pressed down to an LP and or to a single or whatnot, right? And so as we're talking about this, there is kind of a natural break that comes in an album that was created during this time period where you actually had to get up and flip, or you were fancy enough to get an auto flipper, right, to flip your record. And so I'm kind of curious about where you see that flip fitting into this album and where this song fits inside of that experience, because there is like a solid 30-second break if you are auto flipping, or longer if you have to get up and actually manually flip the record.
Well, oddly, this is one of the places where I feel like it fits in almost the same place as it would in concert, because it's the second to last song.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So this could be a place right before you're going to blow it out and have your big sing-along, have your big party at the end of a concert, a big grand finale. You slip this like tearjerker, heartfelt thing, right? That's a pretty standard spot in a concert as well. So you're throwing me these curveballs about this full album. As I'm thinking about it, that actually fits almost the same.
And I think, some good thoughts about the intersection of technology, like listening technology at the time, with the experience of listening to an album.
Well, that was another tangent I was going to go on a little bit, is because more than just fitting the time into each, it's like, okay, yeah, great, these 5 songs are what I would want the first 5 songs to be, but they won't fit. So is it only 4 songs? Oh, but now the other side has too many songs. Oh no, I like the order. Now you need to sacrifice. So I love this order, but that order just won't fit on 2 sides of a single record. So I like the idea that technology shaped some of these things. In previous episodes we've talked about pop songs are like 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes. Well, the original 78 acetate records, like that's how long they were. That's why pop songs ended up being that long.
Wow.
Because that's where they fit. So, and that's just something that, even though we've graduated from that a long time ago, that thing is just kind of cemented into, passed down generation to generation.
Well, because of the influence of radio and advertisement and all sorts of like content. Yeah,
and that's what everyone got used to, is that amount of time. And so it hasn't really evolved as much as it could. Of course, it's not cut and dried like that anymore, but that's where that 3.5 minute thing comes from. Actually, I'd say don't check me out, but do look it up and see if I'm right in recalling that thing. But I've always loved the idea that the technology changes. Even with the advent of CDs, the ability to have such low end, because that really low end would make the needle jump out of the record.
Oh, interesting. Oh, yeah,
right.
yeah.
So,
of the grooves,
in a lot of, no shock that the advent of the blowing up of more hip hop and R&B and that kind of music that has a lot of low end really blew up more right at around the time of the advent of the CD. Sure, those still were on vinyl, but also that's why the big 12-inch singles, because the grooves could be wider on a 12-inch single, which is why those big dance records will be on 12-inch singles instead of a 45.
Wow. Yeah, we could spend an entire episode just on recording technology.
But the one phrase you said about like the recording technology, I'm like, yes, it's so true. So you're right on.
I love it. Okay, well, let's finish up the section. I just wanted to call out just some of the things that I heard musically, because just holy cow, it was just chord. You were talking about chord progressions. They were unexpected and also something that was absolutely fascinating. I looked it up on someone else who had chorded it, and I was like, okay, where is it? Certainly there's like, goes like 1 to 4 a bunch of times, and then there's a 2 minor. That's all very standard. But then it went into like a 6 augmented, and I'm like, whoa! And then a flat 7 major, which I think it's unusual, but it's something that you could hear. But then again, that 6 aug, and then that flat 6 9, and I'm like, whew, okay. Stevie Wonder is just pulling out stuff,
nope,
right?
He does not care.
Yeah, and it was just fascinating to listen to. And I think that it made that as a musician like a lot more interesting to me, to hear the music track the vocals so closely and in a way that was unusual. But to your point, like what you said earlier, it was unusual but not distracting. It, I think, added to the sense of melancholy, the fact that there was this augmented chord in there, and that there were so many chromatics in there. It just sounded a little bit, the chromatic down is like, oh, the emotions are going down. It's like, I just felt it's like very artistic.
Never distracting, always supporting what the vibe is, what the story is, what the message is, what the feeling of that lyric is. Oh, now we're going to this verse, and this is where now it's going to change keys to this on this verse. Always feels appropriate.
Well, any last thoughts here before we wrap up?
Man, it's just a heartbreak. Also, another telling thing as I was looking through this, going through like the YouTube, like just the regular posting from the record label of it, the YouTube comments from years and years and years and years of people. So really telling how on point this is, the number of people like, oh, makes me, this one really makes me miss my mother. I lost her in the summertime, and blah, blah, blah. How many people came here from the one scene from this movie that they used it in? From this one TV episode, from this one. There's like 4 or 5 pop culture kind of things like, oh, who's here from this episode of this show? Who's here from this movie? There's a big scene in a movie, Poetic Justice, with Janet Jackson in the movie. Okay. Oddly enough, Stevie actually sang this at Michael Jackson's memorial.
For
him. So, just, right. So it's, I mean, wow. Like just seeing these comments, even some of them just small little, reminds me, I lost my sister in the summer of blah, 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 like just list out. I mean, it just goes on forever, with these things. So it really shows you again, how it's maybe not the song. Okay, name me a Stevie Wonder ballad. Asking one on the street, and they're not gonna maybe think of this one right away. It's gonna be My Cherie Amour. It's gonna be I Just Called to Say I Love You. It's gonna be there's other one, again, all great songs. Lots of great ballads, amazing ballads, but this one really, really gets you. I remember I love playing this for people for the first time and just seeing their face almost looking at me like, why did you do that to me today? I was in such a great mood, This is something that also reminds us what you're just sharing about the role of music in pop culture and the role of music to anchor humanity in history, right? Like the relationship that we have. So with that, I think thank you so much for the suggestion. It was a great one. And it's time for us to move into our next segment, which is Mailbag.
The Mailbag. All right, so this week's Mailbag entry comes from Threads, from the musician's tag there. It is from Music Through Me from September 30th, 2025. And the question is, how did you know that music is your true calling?
Man. Bad answer. I mean, but I think there is some element of you just know. That's a terrible kind of answer, but there are other little, you just know, and then you gather evidence along the way, confirming or disproving the thought that what you just knew was right or wrong. Man, how do you know that music is your true calling? One of the things would be when you feel like your life just isn't complete without it, or when you just have to do it, when in so many ways it seems like the lesser or not as wise choice. It goes against a bunch of conventional monetary, physical, geographical choices, but still feels like it's the overriding thing that wins. So you do the musical thing anyway. Like those are some of the things that come to mind.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting to think about, because my first question is, how do you know that you only have one calling? And is that something like, is a calling a thing? I was listening to another podcast and someone had mentioned that it's like calling is something that happens from outside you, where someone makes an observation about you that points you in a particular direction and says, oh, you might have a calling for this. It's not necessarily something that you find internally, which I thought was interesting, right? It was a fascinating concept to think about calling as being something that is external to you, like someone else is calling you to do X, Y, or Z. And I think also that, you know, something like music, and I think for me, I am a person who is multidisciplinary, right? Music is not my only creative outlet. It's not my only professional outlet. You know, certainly working in software and also being a published author, there are lots of different areas in which I do like execute that creative calling. But music has always been a core piece of that creativity for me. And it's hard for me to discern whether that's because I started music so young and continued with it so long. So it's just kind of natural because I've had decades of experience as a musician at this point in time. Starting from when I was 6 years old, you know, getting formal piano lessons. And so how much of that is a part of my identity or who I am or what I bring to the world? I also wonder whether the word calling is maybe a little misleading because, you know, there is something about a calling that relates to identity or relates to purpose, where I don't necessarily feel like that reflects a true, like, full human experience. It could be like a part of you, but who are you when music goes away? And I think about, like, you know, this terrible future that I have, like aging, for instance, right? Is there a world in which I might not be able to create or enjoy music anymore? That would be a terrible future, but at the same time, would I still be the same person? And, you know, would I still bring the same value to humanity? Would I still find enjoyment in other people? And I would have to say yes, you know, like music is an integral part of who I am, but it doesn't define me. And if for some tragic reason I were to lose my ability to create music, I would still have a creative purpose. I would still be me. And so I think that there's something in there that I'm still trying to sort through. And this might be a half-baked idea at this point in time. But I would say that music is something that I have pursued and has become a part of how I engage with the world. And in some ways, maybe that is my calling, but it's not my only creative pursuit. And I think that's part of the reason I struggle with the question.
Yeah. Kind of where you started there, is it just something that you want to do, or is it something people have pointed out that it might be you? And I think mine was a mixture of those things for sure. I always, as a kid at least, always just gravitated toward it, naturally just wanted to and enjoyed it. But then eventually, you know, had adults telling me that I was natural at it, or I was drawn to it easily, that I fit naturally somehow or something like that. So maybe a little bit of all of those things. Good teachers who steered me in a direction where going into high school, music was really, really fun. Loved doing music, loved being in choir, but entering school, I didn't have the thought that I was going to have music be a part of what I made my living doing. Not even an inkling that was something I could even do. It was something that I enjoyed, that I felt like I was good at, but am I going to be a lawyer or a doctor? And then separately over here was another conversation. Boy, I sure love music. And they weren't, like, my brain didn't have the idea that could be in the same conversation until I was in high school, and just had a teacher that could show you the way that it's not all about like being the star on stage, the main performer. That world includes all kinds of arrangers, producers, recording engineers, there's so much teaching, and really even going into college was really not looking to be a performer, just saying, hey, well, if that comes about, I'll do that. But teaching is the thing that I'm going to be into, and then just things go where they go. So he really helped me just see all the other possibilities that weren't like the stardom or bust that, you know, the American Idol type thing, like, oh, come on this show. If you win this show, then you can be, you know, just that whole thing is so depressing. be on The Voice. There's just the one. So you win this, and then you're going to, it's like everybody on there sounds amazing and could have a great career or not, just depending on if the other things that you need work out for you, etc. So, yeah, I think I have some inherent problems with the question as well, as you've just kind of expounded upon. I kind of stick by my original thought in terms of my reading of the question. Like, I knew somehow was a better choice not to do the music thing, but then I did the music thing anyway. So that's the point when you start doing that more, that you realize, I just have to do that.
It's interesting because you and I, from a career perspective, went down very different paths, right? Because I went the industry path and did not choose music as my primary thing. Similar kind of parental advice. And I think that there is still a route forward. The way I rationalized it is that I would have more time for music if I didn't have to worry so much about, finances or whatnot. And so I think that there is something in there where it is possible to be a musician and have that as your calling without it being your full-time thing, your full-time gig. And so, anyway, I think that it's something really interesting to think about as we are thinking about the music industry, as we're thinking about issues of identity, as we're thinking about, issues of how we as musicians engage with the world and with one another, it's an interesting question for us to just grapple with. And so, I'd love to, I would love to hear what other people have to say about this. So if you see a post on Instagram, or if you just want to email us, please do that. Instagram is The Musicians Loop, LOUPE. And our email address is that same thing, themusiciansloop@gmail.com.
All right. Another great question.
Yep. And with that, we are a wrap on this episode. Thanks so much for joining us this week. Please give us a like, give us a subscribe, tell your friends about us. We would love to have more people participating in our community.
Thanks so much. See you next time.
Totally biffed it, but that's okay. I will live.
Do you think that might be music through me? Just as you said throom, I'm visualizing it, thinking, do you think it's through me?
Okay, let me say that again. I'm totally going to...
Oh, like a musician's loom.
Oh, what? Okay. I think actually you might be right.
Seriously, that song though, right? Seriously, that song.
If nothing else, we just have a whole bunch of bloopers. And, what was I going to say about this?